when I start figuring out the creator stuff, I split into a third audience. So I have my fashion beauty girls, my people who love family, and then I have people who just create, who want to learn who cares about your family, how do I work with brands, and then I serve creators. So it's completely fine for you to have the clients that pay you, and then to have a whole different interesting market that just wants to see your family and lifestyle. That could be your Instagram group. Like, that's not the group that's going to buy what you're selling, but that's the group that could be so engaged with your life, and brands will pay you. So your LinkedIn, your podcast, your YouTube could be the clients that they're paying you. Your Instagram audience could be the people who just like and comment and the brands pay.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with one of the superstars, somebody that I truly admire as a sis, as a friend, as a mentor, just somebody like the Sarah Jakes of this time, of Charlotte.
Ooh,
I like that.
That's a big
nice.
title.
That's a big one.
Nice one.
I like that. First of all, superstar. I'm like, who, me?
Madge, how you feeling?
Man, I'm so happy to be here. I feel so legit. Let me just get props. The podcast setup is official. It's very vibey.
I appreciate it. Can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and how you're impacting lives?
Such a dope question. My name is Majesty Acheampong, married to the George Acheampong. I am based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am impacting lives by inspiring women, specifically creators of color, to use their influence for impact.
Without any title, no titles, not wife, not influencer, not I work at Facebook. We'll talk about that later. Who are you at the core?
I am silly. I am an overthinker. I'm a giver. I'm an Enneagram 2 helper. So I put others before me, which shows up in all that I do. I am a pastor's kid, super aligned with church and ministry background. And in some odd way, I never wanted to be a preacher because I didn't want that title. But in some odd way, my platform has become my pulpit of sorts in a non-traditional way to serve others.
I like that. You said something earlier when you were introducing yourself, and I want to really break that down for people. So you create a platform for women to inspire women. You created a platform for people to essentially become better. Who inspires you? And where was the time, or what was the time where you needed to become better and you needed what you've created today?
Honestly, creators of color inspire me. And I wanted to serve them because I feel like everyone was trying to figure it out on their own. There weren't resources and spaces for us. There were tons of resources for mainstream bloggers. Like, you could show up as a mainstream blogger and wear something very basic and get 200,000 followers, and it would make a creator of color just like, what am I doing wrong? And I know I look to creators of color for inspiration on beauty, skincare, fashion, lifestyle, YouTube. I mean, the pandemic, I'm like, I've never done my hair. What am I supposed to do? Creators of color. So they inspire me, and they're the source of information and insight for a lot of the ways I live. And I thought, who's educating them on how to make money being themselves? Who's helping them not stress and burn out trying to keep up with other people? Who's helping them overcome imposter syndrome? Because we're always in our heads, and we always have the tendency to dim our light. We're not be aware of our light. So I really chose to serve the market that I feel like most serves me.
When you think about the market that you're serving, who is the ideal person that you impact most? Like, walk me through who that person is.
Someone with a ton of creative talent and doesn't know how to channel that with a system, doesn't know how to monetize it without feeling like, oh, can I get paid for it myself? Doesn't know how to clearly make a path that's their own without feeling like they're competing with someone else. So I help people kind of get unstuck that already have what they have. Like, I'm not building anything in anyone that they don't already have. I'm helping them identify how to use it.
She describing me.
No, word. When you think about that person that, has a lot of talent, there may be a designer, there may be an artist, they have all of these talents and these skill sets, and they don't necessarily have the strategies that they need to being able to get brand deals or get in front of people or grow their YouTube influence or all these different things. What would be your step-by-step process of helping that person?
Yeah, because creators, because we're creative, it's a gift, but we can be scattered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I help them start with one instead of try to master everything at once. So it's like, okay, if you're a creator, you're going to show up. Do you just start with your website? Do you just start the landing page and make that solid and make sure people know who you are? If I come to your page, do I understand what you do? If I'm a brand, can I contact you? Do you have your email? Do you have like systems in place so people can work with you? Let's start there. Then maybe you have your landing page, your website, your blog. Maybe you pick one social media platform to master. Maybe you're going to kill it at Twitter. Maybe you're going to be the best Pinterest person ever.
Does YouTube count as a social media platform?
It does.
Okay, so let's say, because a lot of times people don't even look at that as a platform. They look at it as like a search engine. So they still have to build their Instagram, Facebook. Can you just focus on YouTube without having an Instagram, a Facebook, and all those other things?
Absolutely. You can make the biggest coins.
That's what I'd be saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So YouTube is a great example of, say if you're a creator and you're just like, I have great camera presence. I want to do tutorials. I'm comfortable on camera. I would say start at YouTube, master YouTube. Don't go half doing YouTube and then half posting on Instagram and got one tweet a month and a half a pin and then you on Facebook. Like master YouTube and then have a home base. So I always feel like we don't own YouTube, we don't own Instagram and Facebook. Have a home base. So I always would say any personal brand, you should have a website. So I would tell that creator, get your website, let them know you're a YouTuber, let them know what they're going to find on your YouTube, let them know what you're open to doing with brands in terms of, hey, if you're this type of brand, work with me. And then you have a consistent cadence on YouTube. If you're posting a video every Friday, if you're doing Fashion Fridays, be consistent for a period of time. Get a editing schedule, get a content posting schedule, get that under your belt. And then you can take those clips from YouTube and repurpose them and put them in other places and master. But creatives get overwhelmed because they do the most with no strategy at the beginning. So then they're burned out because they're like, I got 10 YouTube videos and 20 Instagram posts. Like, nobody actually do that. So I waited until I got blogging down to try to master social media. And for me, I was like, Instagram is where I'm going to show up. Now that I've showed up on Instagram, it's like, okay, I can do a podcast. Like I'm very good with steps so that I'm not burned out.
That makes sense.
So I can be present and be my best and not hate it. Because you can hate what you don't have any order in.
Talk to us about steps, right? Because a lot of people, including myself, is kind of like, I have all these things. Like, it's interesting because I got up this morning and I have all these things like, all right, we need another 30 posts for Instagram. I need 40 posts for YouTube. I need this. And then now I'm spending all of this money to get people to edit, to get people to create content, where it's like, now I'm overexhausting myself. Because me, and you know this, I could get a videographer and I could shoot content probably once a week for 5 hours straight because I love YouTube type of content.
Yep.
But now that I have all of it, it's like, well, how do I post all of this? Is there a certain cadence? There wasn't any intention behind the content. It's just teaching. So talk to us about the importance of steps and not getting so caught up in just doing everything at one time.
Yep. First, really see, where are you investing as home base? So for you, it sounds like YouTube. So it sounds like you have all this great YouTube content. And then with that, you can chop up a YouTube in 1,000 ways. So then you're getting stuck at this. I have all these clips. What else do I do with it? I would really say, what's your secondary base? Like if outside of YouTube. Instagram. Okay. Yeah. So secondary base, you can identify that by what is the second space that most of the audience you're trying to reach, where are they? So some people are just like, well, I don't know. And it's not necessarily followers. It's where are the people I'm trying to reach at?
Well, the crazy thing, then that would be LinkedIn.
So
it would be YouTube and LinkedIn. So it's interesting because we've been having this conversation. I want to get off of Instagram, Facebook, all of that 100% because the bulk of my market and then also revenue comes from LinkedIn.
Yep.
I just feel like Instagram's kind of like where my peers are.
It's where you get the comments and the DMs
it's where I get
all
the
that
love.
stuff. That's what that is.
So Instagram is what's popular for our demographic.
Exactly.
Like our parents' demographic, they are all on Facebook, right? But if your client is at LinkedIn and you want to get the best return on who you're talking to, you need to be using LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has creator functions that are very underutilized. So I would study, like, think about nobody's really on LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn creator functions, the whole audience that's ready for the person that's on LinkedIn, there's a wide open market. I would spend energy there, and I would just, if your friends on Instagram, you can use Instagram socially, but I would put strategy in YouTube and LinkedIn. You can almost repurpose the same videos on LinkedIn, and it would grow like wildfire. They even have blog options.
Oh wow!
On, like, LinkedIn is untapped, so I would say I would invest time there, because that's where your person is, and Instagram are where your peers are, but that may not be where your clients or the audience you serve.
Interesting.
I feel that. I feel like that's my like conundrum. It's like wanting to be on Instagram because it's easy. Like, I know if I post this, it'll get these many likes. If I post this, then it'll get comments or shares or whatever. Like, I know what's going on over there, but it's not translating to anything. So I feel like kind of like
Instagram people broke.
Instagram is about the flex.
It is.
Instagram is like people.
Those are the
see
payment plan people.
What you doing? What you wearing? How's your life? But where is business? Like, I'll give an example. I was talking to a peer of mine yesterday who has a podcast, and she's like, my main platform is podcasting. So everybody also doesn't have to be on video. Like, audio could be your main thing, and you could kill.
But how do you grow a pod? All right, go ahead.
There's so many questions, Majesty.
So here was her strategy. I thought it was so neat. She started with YouTube, build a strong base, let her audience evolve with her. And so now she's serving her audience with podcasts. And she realized the same thing y'all realized, that like, ain't nobody paying me nothing on Instagram. Like, I'm wasting all this time. So she did Patreon. And she's like, I got a $5 plan, $10 plan, $15 plan. So she has this whole membership base that all she's doing is like, hey, y'all get the video for my podcast. Y'all get this exclusive behind the scenes. Everybody else just gets audio. You get to see the whole interview. You get these parts of me. So she gets paid. Think about it, not double the work. Taking the same thing and just serving this audience. So she's like, forget Instagram. My Patreon people paying me.
Majesty.
How big is her audience?
I would be lying. I would be lying.
Rough numbers.
She just said it's, I would have no clue.
Average.
I just thought the concept to monetize was refreshing, because it wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh, my Instagram people gonna miss out. It was like, the people who want to rock with me are paying. So her model is like, free audio podcast, paid if they want to get access to behind the scenes clips and video podcasts. And then she has a membership community that's also recurring. So I think now the name of the game for creators is like, how can I get paid for the content and the people I serve? And Instagram is often, unless you're doing badges with lives, unless you're getting like Reels bonuses or sponsored content, you're serving and giving a lot for free. So I think some of the strategy is just like, how do I pivot and make sure I'm able to pay my bills if this is a way I'm going to monetize and still serve? And I do think if you feel like LinkedIn is a strong base for you, I think you need to explore that.
It's crazy because LinkedIn, when I post, like, so recently we've recreated a lot of the videos that we've done on YouTube. But when I post it on LinkedIn, I get crazy engagement. I get messages, I get people scheduling calls, and it's like, y'all really respond on LinkedIn. I post that same video on Instagram, and it's like crickets. And I'm giving whole tutorials on how exactly to do things. So it's very interesting that you say that. And when you think about getting paid for content, a lot of people don't understand how to get paid from brands. How do you engage with brands? What does that communication look like? I know you're a super expert. Maybe we can have this conversation offline.
I can give the foundation. So when people want to start working with brands, the first step, honestly, is to have content or have an example of, if this brand did want to work with you, what can you show them? Because brands want to see it to believe it, and then they'll buy. They're not moving by faith. Like, I just believe that Cal's this amazing person.
Yeah.
I feel he could have potential. No, they're like, oh, I've seen him do this. Let me book him to do this. I've seen her do this. So I always tell creators, think of who you have in your house. Like, if I'm a beauty blogger, let's say, if that's my box, what beauty brands do I have in my bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
Let me take 2 of those and create content so I can use as examples to put on my main platforms to get people engaging with it. And then I can use those clips to pitch and get in front of those brands. Like,
that makes sense.
See what I can do. And they're copycats. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say CoverGirl. This is, I don't know why that came to mind, but that's a brand everybody knows. Say if I'm going to do a review on CoverGirl lip gloss and that's in my bag at home, I'm doing it. It's not sponsored. I have full control.
Mm-hmm.
And then say I do a vegan lip gloss like the Lip Bar, a Black brand. And I talk about Black women-owned brands, I have 2 content examples that I'm putting on social media. Then I can email these brands and say, hey, brands, I see you have holiday collection coming out. Specifically, I've done the research for this particular thing. My demographic is 95% women who love beauty content. Look at these last 2 posts where I got this much engagement, this many views.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's you've showed them you can do it. And they're almost always just like, oh, great. You know, here's our budget, here's our deadline. Because there's no guesswork on, can you do what we need you to do? It's like you're the answer to their problem. Versus people who pitch and it's just like, hey, CoverGirl, work with me. And it's just like, I'm looking at your page. I don't see no examples. So I would tell people, just start with, have an example in the category of the brands you want to work with, and then start getting in front of the brands you already organically use, because it's easy to sell something that you're wearing yourself or you believe in.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard someone say, like, brands are lazy, like not in a bad way, but just like if you take the guesswork out, you're more likely to get a yes. How do you know who to reach out to, though?
That's a great question. Brands are lazy because, think about it, brands hire employees.
Right.
And people don't want to do a lot of work. Let's be real. Brands often outsource to third-party marketing agencies, and they don't want to have to do a whole bunch of work. They want to like know who they know. And honestly, you'll see a lot of creators get the same, a lot of deals because they're like, I already know the people I work with.
Yeah.
And it's easy. But if you don't have a start for who to contact, start even if you're on Instagram. If you're on Instagram and you go to these brand pages, most businesses have an email.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally start with an email address and say, I'm an influencer, I'm a creator. Can you please provide me with your point of contact for influencer collaborations? Because usually the email that's on Instagram is a customer service. They're not a influencer person.
Right.
Usually they will say, hey, Cal King is our influencer coordinator. This is his email. Then you can take Cal, hey, Cal, and then you can have a personal email directly to a person. A lot of creators mess up. They try to DM brands. They're like, I want to work with you. Who is in the DM is a social media coordinator. They're not an influencer. So you got to get in front of the right person. LinkedIn. Don't sleep on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you can look up companies and you can ask who better knows who to work for, who to reach out to than an employee. Hey, marketing manager, can you give me the name or email of who's over your partnerships? I would love to collaborate. And you don't try to get that person involved, but if you get the email or the name, you're gold.
So just to kind of recap, because I don't want anybody to miss this, and I don't want to miss this, so maybe this is for me as well. So when you think about collaboration with brands, number one is to identify the brand that you would want to be able to work with.
Correct.
Look in your bathroom, look in your kitchen, look in your house or whatever in regards to what you do and who you're trying to get in front of, and create essentially 2 mock tutorials or 2 or 3 mock tutorials using those products.
Correct.
Then you want to be able to reach out to that brand specifically with that mock tutorial, communicate that you've been doing research, you see what's coming up in the future, while also being able to provide information on your demographic and how they engage with your specific content. After you do that, you want to be able to find a point of contact. So go to their Instagram, look at that email. Usually it's going to be a customer service email. So ask for the POC directly so that you can get in front of those people. Then be able to engage with that person. But another way to do that is also leverage LinkedIn. And then you could leverage the Sales Navigator tool to identify the direct contact to get in front of while still being able to pitch that pitch to that brand specifically. But you want to be able to showcase your value prior to then just pitching them on something that they can't identify with when they come to your page? Because like you both said, brands are lazy.
Oh yeah. And come ready. Some people have, it was an excellent, okay.
We'll start
Some
today.
people have a media kit. You may hear that, or MPK.
Is that still necessary?
I say stay ready, it's time to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Some people ask for it, some don't. If you've never heard of a media kit, it's your creative resume.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So media kit would be, again, think about people being lazy, a one-pager to a stranger that tells them why they need to work with you.
A one-pager. Can you talk about that? Because some people, I've even got media kits. It's like 7 pages, and I'm not even reading through this.
Correct. Nobody has time. 1 to 2 max, because people don't want to consume that. And think about the volume brands get. They may get 100 pictures a day. And so you don't want to be the person with a 10-page kit. So 1 to 2 pages, the core of it needs to have an image of you, how to contact you, your platforms, and your demographic. And demographic, depending on what that brand is, if you are someone who is a media personality, want to work for Revolt TV, you need to look into who's Revolt's audience and what about my audience aligns and highlight that. If I'm a mom to be and I want to work with Gerber when I have this baby, I need to look up how many women or moms or that population of age demographic could serve them. They want to know how you going to help me, basically. Right. So media kits should have that. Media kits should also have details about the type of content you want to do. Because just as you create, they could be like, so what do you do? A podcast, a YouTube, a blog? Yeah. So it needs to be like, I have the ability to create blogs for you. Show up on Instagram. Live host. You can't assume they know your background at all. That's good. So Media Kit is like, hey person, here's my resume. And then here's some content examples so you can see what I can do. You don't have to have the guesswork of how I'm going to show up for you. And then let's start the conversation. Another way outside of LinkedIn and Instagram to find contacts is visit the brand's website. They usually have contact forms. Some have affiliate web forms. Some, like, you can find it. You just got to do some research. And sometimes that's admin time. And that's sometimes where creators fall short because they're like, I'm posting so much on social and no one's checking for me because they're not doing the proactive work. When I started, I was doing 80% of outreach to brands. When you get on their radar, other brands look at who brands are working with, then that flips. Now I only pitch who I really want to if I'm in a new market. Like I'm pitching now like baby mommy stuff because I'm new to that market. I don't have to pitch anything for fashion, beauty, or hair because it flips.
So I want you to talk about that because my expertise in what I'm doing now and where I've built a brand and it's strong, I don't want to be doing this. So I've been holding off for so long. I want to be a daddy influencer.
And you would kill it.
I would. And I feel like when I post things with Carter or when I do little videos and I get so much joy from it, but I've never wanted to always have a camera when I'm being a father because my most impact, y'all, like it's kind of like y'all think I impact y'all on Instagram. Just look at me behind the scenes when I'm with my son, or y'all get a little clip of what I do, and then it's like, oh my God, but y'all don't see the half of it. So I really believe if I was to have a camera crew showcasing life behind the scenes when I'm a dad, it would grow exponentially. But I don't know how to build that brand because because where I'm making money now from a business standpoint is completely different than where I would want to be making money moving forward. So it's kind of like you changing your whole system because when you have funnels and you have all these different things that you've invested so much money into,
you're scared.
How do you just, pivot. I guess, pivot, you know?
Yeah, you don't have to jump completely. You introduce it. Like, I'll give you an example. When I started creating, I was talking about clothes, hair, and beauty. Then I started showing George, and people are like, oh, I like to see what's going on in your relationship. Then you slowly introduce. So then my audience splits. It's like some people are like, let me see what you're doing with your hair, your outfit, your clothes. Some people are like, who cares? What's up with you and George? So then you have two audiences. It's okay to serve two different groups. When I start figuring out the creator stuff, I split into a third audience. So I have my fashion beauty girls, my people who love family, and then I have people who just create, who want to learn who cares about your family, how do I work with brands, and then I serve creators. So it's completely fine for you to have the clients that pay you, and then to have a whole different interesting market that just wants to see your family and lifestyle. That could be your Instagram group. Like, that's not the group that's going to buy what you're selling, but that's the group that could be so engaged with your life and brands will pay you. So your LinkedIn, your podcast, your YouTube could be the clients that they're paying you. Your Instagram audience could be the people who just like and comment and the brands pay you.
Can we talk about when you made that transition and introduced George? I know you lost some followers. Can we talk about that? Because I feel like that deters people from wanting to introduce something new because you see like,
Yeah, I don't care about follower number because when you lose, you gain who is interested.
Right.
So for anyone who I lost, I gained a bunch of people who are dating or married or in a relationship, and they love that. And honestly, and George would probably have so much ego if when I look at my analytics, he is always in the top.
Really?
Like, it's like if I have a grid of 9, he is in 5. So you also have to read the numbers that the majority of people who follow me,
they like that
content.
Yeah.
Now that I'm pregnant, I lost some followers, and I understand it. I had suffered loss before, so it's hard for some women to see it. So I respected it and had no question about a lot of women started following me because I could relate to them in the season of loss. And then post season of loss, it can still be hard for women if they haven't made it there.
Yeah.
So I lost followers, but then anyone else pregnant right now, I gained.
Yeah.
So it comes in ebbs and flows, and I'm okay. And I understand it because we're dealing with people,
right?
That's interesting.
But I always know I can serve multiple people. So to your point, Kyle, I have paying clients who are creators who show up for me in my membership. I get money from them. I have social media following who just engages with me, don't pay me, but brands pay me to get in front of them. I have people who care less, they just love me and George. And they may not pay me, but then they show up and support. Like, they're like, what's your baby registry link? Because I've been following y'all for years. Let me get you a gift. So
they support in other ways.
Okay. So you can do the father thing. And honestly, I've seen great success in fatherhood content. Like, I don't even want to call him a client, but it's a gentleman who I'm coaching who is in a whole different lane, a singer, like worship leader, like Maverick City kind of writer kind of style. Has 2 kids and was posting pictures of his kids. And now he's getting like $2,000, $1,500 a post for like baby Bajorn and like baby carriers with his kids. And that has nothing to do with his mainstream, but people love seeing him when he shows up as a father. So you can definitely have multi niches and be speaking to multi interests on platforms.
So that's my other question. How do you know, like, I hear a lot like that a lot of Black creators are undercharging and they're undervaluing themselves. And then there's like white creators doing similar things, but getting paid much more because Black people ask for less. How do you know what to ask for? Because I've heard too that there are people who have like 3,000 followers and they're getting thousands of dollars to make posts. Like, it's not about followers. It's like, what is the...
It's a mindset thing. We feel lucky to be able to work with brands and non-minority creators treated like a business. And it's like, no, you're going to pay me when I work. We feel like, oh my God, Gerber sees me. They know my name. And I'm just going to work for them for free because I'm so lucky to work with them. Our peers don't do that. Our peers are like, I know if I do this campaign, they're going to sell 1,000 diapers. So I'm marketing. And so that's a lot of my coaching too, is switching our mindset on the brands we want to work with. We love them. We feel lucky to work with them. They have a marketing budget. And if they don't give it to us, somebody else is getting it. And this is not our wallet. So we approach things like our money. Like, ooh, maybe I'll ask for this. Ooh. And so ranges in our industry are tough because our industry is new. Our parents didn't have influencer marketing.
Right.
So in true transparency, the brands are guessing, agencies are guessing. Like, there's no blueprint for like, this is an average rate.
Exactly.
Like, I've been paid $1,500 for one thing and $10,000 for the same amount of work based off of who I'm working with. So it's not like a range. It's what's their budget?
So if somebody asked you your rate, do you just say, what is your budget?
I say, what's your budget?
Okay.
Because you'll lowball yourself.
Right.
So I'll say, what's your budget?
And what are like the deliverables?
What are the deliverables? And that's layman's term for what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
How much work? Because also somebody be like, oh, my rate's $200. And then they could want the moon and the stars.
Right.
And so it's like, what's your budget? How much do you want me to do? And when do you want it due? Because it's also a big thing on, is this a rush job? Am I going to be stressed? Do you want this Halloween in 4 days or do you want this at Christmas? And I can plan and book. So all those things like rush fees are a thing. Doing the most is a thing. Don't agree to deliverables that don't make sense for you either. Like some things some people ask me to do, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then you have the option of, if you have other means of income, you can get on the phone or get on Zoom with these brands and negotiate. Like a brand wanted me to do something I didn't want to do, and I reproposed something else. And they were like, oh, I love it. A brand wanted me, a hair brand, wanted me to interview a hair scientist. She like formulates black hair care for Procter & Gamble on my podcast. And I'm like, that's cool, but my podcast audience is serving creators. The scientist feels like I'm just getting a sponsored podcast and it doesn't serve my audience. And so it felt icky and it still well with me. So I said, hey, let's hop on the phone and have a creative conversation. I'm like, let's have this scientist join me on Clubhouse and let me have a moderated talk for hair. And let's talk black hair. And people can come to the stage and ask hair questions and hair products. And that doesn't feel icky because whoever wants to join the hair room will and whoever doesn't. But I'm protecting my podcast and who it serves. We still did a deal. I still got paid for a Clubhouse room. Everybody's happy, but you can kind of steer on like, does this deliverable make sense or am I just doing it for a check? And so you got to kind of protect the same way they want to protect their company. You have a company and it's going to feel real sticky if it's just like, what are y'all doing over here? This feels like y'all just trying to get sponsored work.
So when you think about just, I guess, first steps, setting a foundation as a creator, do you need LLC to do this? Like, can you walk us backwards? Because I know we're both at a place where we have businesses, they're operating all these different things. But for someone who's just now listening to this, it's kind of like, I'm just now getting on YouTube. I don't really have a business yet. I'm maybe working a 9 to 5, but I want to step into this. What is their first step to like positioning themselves so that they can build a system?
I would say when you start making money, get a business checking account. Some creators don't make money at the beginning, so I don't want them to stress. Like some people get caught up in like, let me get all this paperwork together and you ain't got nothing going on. So I would say be making a few $100s and then get you a business checking account, have an LLC. I do have an LLC, need a tax ID number, and you need to just have some forms in place. Like most brands, you're not an employee. And so they'll ask you for like a W-9 or they'll ask you for certain forms for tax purposes. Like, we're going to pay you for this contract for this one thing, but you're not an employee. So you also need to have some base level understanding of like how to handle your business side. And if you don't, get a lawyer or take a class and understand contracts. There's an attorney who works with creators. Her name is Beverly Beal. I did a consult with her because I'm like, these brands are sending these legalese contracts and I don't really understand all the terms if I'm honest on what I'm agreeing to. And we broke down like the rights we were releasing, the amount of time they could use stuff. And it blew my mind. And when I knew about it, it gave me more power to negotiate.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So
like, what were some of the things that you saw that brands need to be, or creators need to be mindful of?
That's a great question, Kyle.
There's some terms on contracts where you may think you're creating content, let's say for YouTube. They're going to pay you for YouTube. These are the dates they're going to pay you. And then there's some other jargon that allows them to amplify. Facebook, Twitter, whatever website. So then next thing you know, you're on their website. And you're like, well, I didn't get paid to be on their website. Like, oh, in the fine print, we said that we were going to do amplification to like repurpose. Wow. So these are things you can negotiate and be like, okay, here's my rate for YouTube. If you also want to use this content for YouTube and your website, here's my rate. If you want to use me in an ad, here's my rate per month. Because they will slip in. And next thing, like I had a brand I did a campaign with for in-feed picture. And then all my friends were like, oh my God, girl, I saw you on like their ads. I'm like, why am I on their ads?
Yeah.
And they were getting like running my ads for like 90 days. And I'm sure it sold 100 million things.
Wow.
But in my contract, before I got educated, they had the rights to do that. Now it's a separate fee. It's like, you want to run an ad, this ad's fee. Because I know how ads perform. I know you're going to make some money. But you could hurt yourself just not knowing what you don't know. So if I were to start, I would say when I start making money, I would get a business checking account, an LLC, and I would invest in a console. If you're a creator, with someone who works with creators to understand the base ways to protect yourself. My brand name is trademark. I wouldn't know how to trademark. So I got someone to help me do it. She helped me do it. So that someone can't pop up with Ignite Your Influence conference and I'm not protected. Or someone can't pop up with Ignite Your Influence podcast and I'm not protected. So it's just some base level things I think when you're establishing brand, you should have covered. But people also shouldn't be paralyzed and like, I'm not gonna create nothing because I don't have no LLC. It's like, no, you can use your iPhone and go ahead and start posting. So it's a thin line on like having your business together and then just like starting.
When you think about creative spaces, what is one thing that you want to create that you haven't created yet before it's your time? It may sound outdated, but in my head, I have this space for women that is like, you can show up and do the master classes and events. You can show up if you're a mom and like drop off your kid and get your hair done and nails done. It's just like safe space for women, podcasting places, creative rooms for content, and just like for creators who are multifaceted, almost like a brick and mortar that has everything they need. Like glam on deck, photographer on deck, video on deck, babysitter to watch my kid. Because a lot of what holds people up too as women is, oh, I want to do this, but my hair's not done today.
Yeah.
Or I want to do this, but I don't have a babysitter. Or I want to do this, but I don't have, and I want something that eliminates all those things. So imagine like a co-working space for creative women that has like all the vendors and resources there.
That's dope.
That's long
I don't think that's outdated, though.
There's nothing like that.
I feel like, I was like, maybe it's outdated because brick and mortar feels old now. But I'm like, I think it's a space to start. Because I needed a videographer for a paid campaign this week. And I'm just like, where y'all
where y'all at?
I would love to just like book and like show up at this space and like videos there. We ready. Because sometimes creators have to depend on outsourced vendors, and that's a headache because you're dealing with other creative people who may not be as reliable. And that's a whole other episode.
It's hard to find reliable videographers, photographers,
editors,
everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's no in between. It's like there's amazing vendors that charge $1 million, or there's unreliable flaky vendors who are in your reach but ain't answering emails or ain't
don't even have emails.
Unprofessional.
Yeah. Cash App.
Stresses me out.
When you think about everything because the whole conversation right now has been just creative brands, a lot of the different things that you do work-wise. What are you most proud of personally?
Personally, I'm proud of being able to, I guess, master a skill that attracts people online to offline. It's hard people can show up a certain way on social behind the camera, never meet people and not be who you think. So it's been really important to me personally to be better in person and create things in person to create real life where if someone really knew me, like, oh, Majesty's cool people, and not just like a facade on social. So that's something I'm really proud of. Like my conference, my Ignite Your Influence conference, to be able to have people who I'm a stranger to on social media trust me enough to show up and be in the same room with me. Like it's huge, and it's something I don't take for granted. And it's a gift a lot of people haven't mastered. Like I have peers who have 300,000 followers and they're like, I would be scared to death to do an event. Like to be in person.
Wow.
Like I just wouldn't even know. Because it's a safe space behind the camera.
Yeah.
It's a safe space when things are edited and curated. Yeah. If you're in person, you can read energy.
Yeah.
You can, you get who you get. So that's something I've been really proud of, to use social media or online presence as a platform, but it doesn't make me. And I feel like at the end of the day, I'm just a good person. Like that's what's important, just being like a normal, good person.
Take away social media, take away business, take away bills, take away finances. What would you be doing?
Ooh. Y'all gonna laugh. I would be like cooking. Like I would do something just for the fun of it. I would like get trained as a chef and just be cooking and like be on Food Network. I swear to you.
Listen though, I've seen some of your like stories with you. I forgot what you were cooking, and I think George was out of town or something. You were cooking something and you were like, it was not healthy. And I was like, that looks good. You were like, I wish you guys could smell it in here. I'm like, I wish I could smell it.
I love to cook, but it's one of those things that like, you have to work. You have to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then it feels like a responsibility. But without the other elements, it would just be hella fun. I would be like Rachel Ray, like a Black Rachel Ray.
So why has it not become part of your brand if you enjoy it so much?
Honestly, time.
Okay.
And it's similar to what I talked about at the beginning with not half doing stuff.
Yeah.
If I show up for food, I want to show, I want to have it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I'm not there yet from a time perspective. Like when I show up with food, I want the set in background. I want the prettiest pans you ever seen. I want like recipe cards emailed to you. I ain't there yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when I can master that pillar, I will. But yeah, and then food is a whole thing because it's like they expect Pinterest pins. They want to say like, you got to come correct with food. And I'm not there. So I won't have to do it. I'll do it on stories and it'll go away in 24 hours because it's no pressure. But in feed.
Talk to us about the importance of not half doing things and doing things in the season in which they're supposed to be done.
There's seasons for everything. Mm-hmm. And I think the best way to avoid burnout is to not try to do it all, even if something you're passionate about. Like, I know I'll eventually do food, but I had to be real with myself and say, okay, like Kyle said, I work for Facebook. So that's a meet in my day. I have a husband who I try to interact with. So he can like me. I have the things I'm passionate about and I'm serving 3 audiences already. So for me, I feel like adding food would be a 4th audience. And I'm learning to be a mom. I've never been a mom before. I don't know. So in this season, I've told myself, don't add anything to this season. And honestly, after my conference, I was like, that is the end of the season where I'm doing the most in person. And so I'm 3rd trimester. Let me figure out how to be a mom and not blow it and like ruin it with this kid and invest in the area that I don't know. When I have the kid, that's a new pillar. So it's like, okay, now it's mom content.
That's what I was going to ask.
And you kind of just pivot in like what season you're going through. But there's seasons I do a podcast and then there's an end of season. Mm-hmm. There's seasons I do my event. There's an end of season. There's seasons where I'm just like, my personal life is pivoting. So I'm only doing what I really want to do. And that's where I am now. I'm like 3rd trimester protected time. Unless I'm like interested personally, I will say I'm in my 3rd trimester. Next year we can collaborate to that. Like I'm just not going to do it.
You're 7 months, right?
Yep. Ooh, 7 months. Yeah. And I've heard glory stories and rainbow stories, and I've heard tough stories. So I kind of know like this is truly in God's hands. So let me just have joy and have faith. But the outcome is undetermined. We don't really know.
Okay, you might have twins. You never know.
Child, that was one of my first
That's what we're
questions.
hoping for.
I was gonna say, who bought it? I literally asked that my first ultrasound. I was like, I'm too small for twins. Like, this is not what I said. If I had twins, I would be fine. However, I'm like barely, maybe almost 5 foot. So I would be on bed rest. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a blessing, but I think I would be lying if I said I had full optimism and had no, like some of that grief still is there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes me appreciate it. I don't know if we hadn't experienced a loss, I think I would just be like, oh, we got pregnant and this is fun. I'm like cherishing like all the things because I know like some people don't make it here. We almost didn't make it here. And I think just the older you get, the more you realize like getting pregnant is tough for some people, just getting pregnant, staying pregnant, and then delivering a healthy baby. Like none of those steps are just promised. So I think it's all just like, okay, thank you, God, we're here. Thank you, God, we're here. So I guess I answered your question.
No, for sure. When you think about that young lady or woman that is going through the grief process now, that has lost before, in 60 seconds, what would you say to her?
I would say you're not alone. This happens so often. I would say the grief you're feeling is odd and it's hard to put in words because you haven't, especially if they lost a child without seeing it full term, you're grieving something you've never seen or held, and it's odd. So sometimes people can try to downplay, like, oh, why am I so sad and all that? Like that's normal. Mm-hmm. I would warn that sister that seeing other pregnant people probably is going to hurt right now. Seeing baby commercials is probably going to hurt right now. And to protect your space. And you may not be able to go to baby showers. You may not be able to do certain things. Like protect your space until you're healed and get therapy. That's my 60 seconds. Like go to a counselor.
This has been amazing. I appreciate you, one, showing up and showing out, of course. But I feel like everybody that's listening can get so many nuggets from this conversation, from a creative standpoint, business standpoint, life standpoint, women, men, everybody. Really being able to understand how to not get over, but get through grief. Yeah. How to get in touch with brands, how to be authentic and show up for yourself, how to not operate in fear and just jump, but jump with systems and jump in the season in which that it's supposed to jump, but also understanding, and George says this all the time, you can have everything, you just can't have it all at the same time.
That's real.
So really being able to structure your life like from an authentic place, while being able to advance your life by advancing others, serving others, being able to be mindful of other people as you're reaching out to the masses. Super proud of you, super proud of what you've been able to accomplish, but also super proud of when you're going to have that safe space for women in the next few years. We'll talk about it. But thank you so much. And anybody that's listening, where can we find you?
Definitely. Hit me up on, first of all, website is probably the easiest. Put in Majesty Acheampong. That will lead you to all my community, my podcast, my social media. Second, I'm like the only Majesty on Instagram. If you start typing in Majesty Acheampong will show up. Ignite Your Influence is my platform page. I have a podcast on Apple and Spotify. I have a website as well and social. So if you look up Ignite Your Influence or Majesty Acheampong, you will find me on all the spaces. So
close us out.
All right. Well, so thank you so much, Majesty, for stopping by. This has been amazing. And we'll see you guys on our next episode.
Around the Way Podcast. We'll see you guys soon.